code text. The first time Jade Ramirez realized the whole airport could turn into a courtroom was not in an office. It was at Gate 22 under harsh white lights, with a boarding line behind her, a TSA agent watching like he didn't want to get involved, and two men in airport security uniforms gripping her arms as if she were something dangerous. "Ma'am, you need to come with us," one of them said, voice flat, rehearsed. Jade's heart kicked hard. She smelled jet fuel and cinnamon pretzels and the metallic tang of fear in her own mouth. She tried to pull back, but the taller one tightened his fingers around her wrist, right on the spot that still ached from yesterday's life and today's humiliation. Across the gate area, a blonde woman in a flawless cream coat stood with her phone raised, filming. Her lip curled, eyes gleaming like she'd been waiting for this moment all day. "See," the woman announced to her camera, "this is what happens when you let thieves roam free." The crowd's attention snapped toward Jade like a spotlight. People did what people always did, leaned in without stepping closer, hungry for drama they could scroll through later. Jade's throat tightened. Inside her fist, hidden by her fingers, was the small brass baggage key she wore on a lanyard, like it was nothing, like it was just a tool for work. But the stamped code on that key was the reason she was being grabbed, and the reason someone was willing to break rules in a public gate area to silence her. Can you imagine being dragged away in front of strangers while holding the one thing that could destroy a powerful man's entire empire? The shorter security guy leaned in, breath sour with coffee. "Last chance," he hissed, low enough only Jade could hear. "Give it up." Jade's eyes flicked past them, to the gate screen, to the airline staff, to the TSA agent, to a man sitting in a chair near the window with a baseball cap pulled low. He looked like a tired traveler. Hoodie, backpack, no fancy luggage, no entourage. But he wasn't watching the fight. He was watching Jade's hand. He noticed the way she protected the key like it was a heartbeat. Then he stood, slow, calm. Like the world moved on his schedule, and when he spoke, his voice cut clean through the noise. "Let her go." The two men froze for half a second, just long enough for Jade to see it. Recognition. Fear. The man pulled off his cap, revealing sharp eyes and silver at his temples. He didn't smile. He didn't shout. He didn't need to. "My name is Miles Wexler," he said, loud enough for the airline desk, the TSA agent, and the filming phones to catch every syllable. "And those uniforms don't belong to this airport." The influencer's camera wobbled. Jade's breath caught, because she'd heard that name, Miles Wexler, on a radio in the break room once. A business channel. A story about an investor who could buy failing companies and rebuild them like he was rearranging furniture. The taller security guy tightened his grip. Miles's eyes turned colder. "I have 3 cameras recording this," he said, "and an auditor in the building. If you touch her again, you're not leaving through security. You're leaving through handcuffs." The TSA agent took one step forward. So did an airport police officer, hand resting casually on his belt like he'd been waiting for permission to step into the scene. The 2 men let go. Jade stumbled back, chest heaving. The influencer's voice rose, sharp. "This is insane! She's the thief! She stole my wallet!" Miles didn't even look at her yet. He looked at Jade first, and when he did, his eyes softened just slightly. "Stay," he said quietly, only for her. "Don't fold." The words hit Jade like a hand on her spine, because someone else had said that to her earlier, and because for the first time in her life, Jade realized the right person was watching. If you're still with me right now, comment where you're watching from, city, state, country, because the twist that comes out of this airport is going to feel unreal. And if you want more cinematic justice stories where the powerful get exposed and the vulnerable finally win, make sure you're subscribed. Now let me take you back, because Gate 22 wasn't the beginning. Gate 22 was the moment the trap snapped shut in public. It started before sunrise, when the airport was still half asleep and the floor lights made every polished surface look like a stage. Jade pushed her cleaning cart through Terminal B like she'd done 5 days a week for 3 years. The wheels squeaked in a rhythm she knew better than any song. Her gloves were tucked into her back pocket. Her spray bottle was half full. Her mind was already counting hours, calculating how much she could set aside after rent. Jade wasn't invisible because she wanted to be. She was invisible because airports trained you to be. People saw you when you were in their way, not when you were keeping their world clean enough to ignore. Jade wiped fingerprints from a glass railing and watched a family in matching vacation hoodies sprint toward a gate, dragging suitcases that sounded like angry bees. She smiled faintly, not because she loved mornings, because she loved doing something well. Lonnie, her supervisor, had once told her, "You work like you're building a life." Jade had shrugged and said, "I am." Her lanyard bounced against her chest as she walked. ID badge, access card, and clipped beside it the brass baggage key stamped with a code, F617. It was a strange thing to carry, but it had belonged to her mother. And her mother had always said, "Don't lose what opens doors." Jade didn't know what door this key had once opened. She only knew it mattered. Her mom, Marisol, had worked baggage claims back when Jade was still in middle school, back when the airport looked smaller and the men in suits seemed even bigger. Marisol kept the key in her apron pocket like it was a secret. When she got sick, she pressed it into Jade's palm with fingers that were suddenly too thin. "Promise," Marisol had whispered. Jade had promised. And on days when life tried to crush Jade down into just a worker, Jade touched that key like she was touching her mom's hand again. At 6:40 a.m., Jade was polishing a stainless steel trash bin near the escalators when she heard commotion, not screaming yet. That came later. This was the sound of entitlement warming up. "Excuse me? Hello? Is there someone who can help me? This is unacceptable." Jade looked up. A woman in a designer tracksuit stood near the entrance to the VIP lounge, flanked by 2 friends and a rolling suitcase that probably cost more than Jade's car. The woman's hair was perfect. Her nails were glossy. Her face looked like it had never known fluorescent lighting until today. Jade recognized her immediately. Brielle Vance, influencer, lifestyle guru. Boss babe! The kind of woman who filmed herself crying in first class and called it being relatable. Brielle had a ring light in her carry-on. Jade knew because Jade had cleaned up the glitter that spilled from it last time Brielle passed through. Brielle pointed at the lounge attendant like she was pointing at a stain. "Someone took my wallet." "Right here. I set it down for a second and now it's gone." The attendant, a tired man with a headset, held his hands up in a calming gesture. "Ma'am, we can call airport security. We can also check the immediate area." "I don't want calming," Brielle snapped. "I want my wallet, my cards, my ID, my entire life is in there." One of her friends gasped dramatically, already filming. Jade's stomach tightened. Not because she cared about the wallet, because she knew what came next. When wealthy people lost something, they didn't look for the object. They looked for someone to blame. Brielle's eyes swept the area and landed on Jade's cart, on Jade's uniform, on Jade. Brielle's gaze sharpened with an ugly kind of certainty, like she'd just found the answer she wanted. "You," Brielle said. Jade blinked. "Me?" Brielle stepped closer, voice rising for the audience her phone would eventually have. "You were just over here, with your cart, by my seat." Jade's palms went cold. "I haven't been inside the lounge. I'm assigned to the corridor." Brielle laughed. "Right, because people who steal always tell the truth." The friends murmured, delighted and offended at the same time. The lounge attendant frowned. "Ma'am, this employee has clearance limitations." Brielle ignored him. Her phone came up like a weapon. "Everyone, watch this," she announced, already framing Jade's face in the screen. "This is why you can't trust anyone. I'm about to miss my flight because someone decided my wallet looked better in their pocket." Jade's throat tightened. She felt the familiar heat of shame trying to rise even though she had done nothing wrong. She'd felt it as a kid when teachers assumed she was lying. She'd felt it at the DMV when someone talked slow to her like she was stupid because her last name sounded ethnic. She'd felt it at work when a passenger snapped their fingers at her like she was a dog. Jade took a breath. "Ma'am, I can help you look." "Oh, you want to help now?" Brielle interrupted, loud and sweet. How convenient. Then Brielle did the thing Jade would never forget. She reached into Jade's cleaning cart without asking. Her manicured hand dug through the top tray where Jade kept gloves, wipes, trash bags, and a small pouch of personal items. Jade's hand shot out. "Please don't," Brielle gasped like Jade had attacked her. "Did you see that? She grabbed me." Jade froze. "No, Brielle pulled out a folded rag, then a pack of wipes, then a beige leather wallet. Brielle's mouth dropped open, perfectly staged. Her friends shrieked. The lounge attendant's eyes widened, and Jade's heart fell straight through the floor. Brielle held the wallet up like a trophy. "Oh my God," she said into her camera. It was in her cart. It was literally in her cart. Jade stared, mind spinning. That wallet had not been there 5 minutes ago. She would have known. Jade's cart was her workspace, organized, strict, controlled. It was the only place in the airport that felt like it belonged to her. Brielle's eyes gleamed. "You're done," she hissed to Jade, then louder, "Security! Call security!" The word security brought people like moths to flame. Within seconds, a tall man in a suit approached, Trent Caldwell, head of private security for the lounge. Jade had seen him before. He walked like the airport belonged to him, and everyone else was just passing through. Trent's gaze landed on the wallet, then on Jade, and something passed over his face. Not surprise, relief. Like this was the outcome he wanted. "What's going on?" Trent asked, voice controlled. Brielle stepped closer, phone still recording. "Your employee stole my wallet. It was in her cart." Jade's voice came out thin. "I didn't. I swear. She reached in and enough." Trent cut her off gently, like he was trying to keep things calm for the cameras. "Ma'am, we'll handle this." Then he turned to Jade, and his voice hardened just enough to sting. "Jade Ramirez," he said, reading her badge. "You need to come with me." Jade's stomach dropped. "We can check cameras." Trent's lips pressed into a line. "The lounge cameras are undergoing maintenance this morning." Jade felt the world tilt. Maintenance. It sounded like a normal word, but Jade had cleaned around those cameras every week. They were always on, always blinking, always watching. Please, Jade whispered. I didn't do this. I can't lose my job, Brielle's friends whispered, laughing. Brielle's camera zoomed in on Jade's face like she wanted tears for her content. Trent stepped closer, lowering his voice. Don't make this harder, he murmured. Give the wallet back and leave quietly. We can keep police out of it. Jade's eyes widened. But it's not. Trent's hand closed around Jade's elbow. Not violent, not yet, but firm, possessive. Jade jerked away, instinct flaring. Don't touch me! Brielle gasped loudly, acting outraged. She's aggressive too! Get her out! Phones rose. People filmed. The world narrowed to Jade's shame and the sound of her own heartbeat. Then the lounge attendant, a younger guy named Paolo, stepped between Jade and Trent, hesitant but trying. Sir, she's been here for years. She's never... Trent's stare silenced him. And Jade understood something in that moment. Paolo did not have power in this space. Trent did. Brielle did. Jade didn't. Trent's voice turned official. You're being removed from the lounge area. You're banned pending investigation. If you cooperate, it stays internal. Jade swallowed hard. And if I don't? Trent's gaze was cold. Then we involve airport police and your employer. Your choice. It wasn't a choice. It was a trap with two doors that both led to the same cliff. Jade looked at Brielle's triumphant face and felt something burn in her chest. Not just fear, anger. And underneath that anger, a smaller, steadier feeling. This wallet is not the real reason. Brielle's eyes were too bright. Trent's calm was too practiced. The maintenance excuse was too convenient. Someone had set this up. To remove Jade from the lounge. To make her look guilty. To make her disappear. Trent gestured toward the hallway. Let's go. Jade's legs trembled as she pushed her cart out, escorted like a criminal while strangers watched and filmed. Brielle called after her, sweet as poison. Maybe next time, steal from someone who can't fight back. Jade's throat tightened. She didn't answer, because she didn't trust her voice not to break. Outside the lounge, Trent stopped near a service corridor. His expression stayed calm, but his eyes flicked quickly around, checking who was watching. Then he leaned closer. You want to keep this from ruining your life, he murmured. Jade swallowed. I didn't do it. Trent exhaled like he was tired of her. Fine. Then help yourself. Sign this report. It says you found the wallet in your cart and returned it. Jade stared at the paper he held out. Her stomach clenched. It wasn't a report. It was a confession dressed in polite language. I'm not signing that, Jade whispered. Trent's gaze sharpened. Then you're choosing the hard way. Jade's hands shook. Why are you doing this? Trent's mouth tightened, just slightly. Because you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. Jade's throat tightened. I'm always in the wrong place to people like you. Trent's jaw flexed. For a second, his mask slipped, and Jade saw irritation, maybe even something like panic. Then the mask returned. Go home, he said quietly. Forget this happened. You'll be assigned to a different terminal next week. Jade stared. And my job today? Trent shrugged. You're off the schedule, effective immediately. Jade felt her chest cave in. She thought of rent, of her car payment, of her little brother, Mateo, in San Antonio, who called her when he couldn't afford groceries but tried to sound like he was just checking in. She thought of how her mom used to say, we don't get safety, we build it. Jade's fingers brushed the lanyard at her neck and found the brass key, F617. Trent noticed her touch. His eyes flicked down, and in that flicker, Jade saw it. He knew about the key. He knew it mattered. Jade's blood went cold. This wasn't about a wallet. This was about something Jade carried without understanding. Trent's voice stayed low. "Leave," he repeated. "Now." Jade turned away, pushing her cart down the corridor, heart pounding. She made it 2 turns before her knees threatened to give out. She ducked into a janitor closet, shut the door, and pressed her back against it, breathing hard. Her hands trembled as she pulled her phone out. She didn't know who to call. She didn't have a lawyer. She didn't have a rich uncle. She didn't have anyone who could walk into the lounge and demand respect. She had one person who always believed her, Lila Brooks. Lila worked in Lost and Found, officially a desk clerk, unofficially the airport's grandmother. Everyone knew Lila. Everyone had been scolded by her at least once, even the pilots. Jade texted her with shaking fingers. "Ms. Lila, I need help, please." A minute later, Lila called. "Baby," Lila said, voice warm and fierce at once. "Where are you?" Jade swallowed, eyes burning. "They said I stole a wallet." Lila made a sound like she'd just tasted something bitter. "Who said?" "Brielle Vance," Jade whispered. Lila let out a snort. "That girl's got more followers than Conscience." "And Trent Caldwell," Jade added. Silence. Then Lila's voice dropped. "Trent put his hands on you." "Not," Jade's voice cracked. "Not like that. But he made me leave. He tried to make me sign something." Lila's tone hardened. "Don't sign a thing. You hear me? Don't sign. You come to Lost and Found right now." Jade swallowed hard. "I'm not allowed in that area." Lila's voice was sharp. "Baby, I've been in this airport longer than Trent Caldwell's been shaving. You come. Let me deal with the allowed." Jade's throat tightened. "Okay." She left the closet and moved through service corridors, avoiding the lounge. Her uniform suddenly felt like a target. Every time she saw a security camera, she wondered if it was really under maintenance, or if someone else was watching. As she walked, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. A text. "Return what you took. Last chance." Jade's blood turned to ice. She hadn't taken anything. So why did it feel like someone knew exactly where she was? She forced herself not to look over her shoulder too often because fear made you obvious, and obvious made you catchable. When she reached Lost and Found, Lila was waiting at the door like a shield. Lila was in her 60s, hair grey and coiled, eyes sharp behind her glasses. She wore a cardigan-like armor and a lanyard covered in tiny pins from different airlines. She took one look at Jade's face and pulled her into the office without asking questions. "Sit," Lila ordered, pushing Jade into a chair. Then she poured water into a paper cup and pressed it into Jade's hands. "Drink!" Jade's hands shook. "I didn't steal anything." "I know," Lila said simply. "Now tell me what happened," Jade explained. The accusation, the wallet appearing in her cart, Trent's maintenance excuse, the confession paper. As she spoke, Lila's face tightened with something like anger and recognition. Then Lila's gaze dropped to Jade's lanyard, to the brass key. Lila's expression changed, not just curiosity, alarm. "Where did you get that?" Lila asked slowly. Jade blinked. "My mum's." "Why?" Lila's mouth went dry. "Your mother worked baggage claims years ago, didn't she?" Jade swallowed. "Yeah, before she got sick." Lila's eyes narrowed. "And she told you never to lose that key." Jade's throat tightened. "Yes." Lila stared at the key like it had just started ticking. "Baby," she said quietly, "that's not a normal baggage key." Jade's pulse spiked. What do you mean? Lila leaned closer, lowering her voice. There's an old vault in Lost and Found, not the bins up front. The vault, for high-value items that need chain of custody. The kind of stuff that gets locked down because it belongs to people who sue if you breathe wrong. Jade swallowed. Okay. Lila's finger hovered near the stamped code. F617. That looks like one of the old vault codes. Jade's breath caught. So it opens something. Lila's eyes flicked to the door, then back. It might, and if it does, and Trent Caldwell is involved, then baby, this wallet thing is smoke. Jade's stomach clenched. Smoke for what? Lila's voice dropped. Serious. For fire, for something they don't want opened. Jade stared at the key, her mum's key, her mum's warning. Don't lose what opens doors. Jade didn't know why the words came out next, but they did. My mom used to get quiet whenever someone from operations walked past. Jade whispered, like she was holding her breath. Lila's eyes softened. Baby, that's fear, and fear usually has a name. Jade's phone buzzed again, another text. You have no idea what you're holding. Jade's fingers went numb. Lila leaned in, reading it. Her mouth tightened. They got your number, Lila murmured. Jade's voice shook. How? Lila's eyes sharpened. Employee records, or someone with access. Jade's chest tightened. So they're watching. Lila nodded slowly. Yes. Jade swallowed hard. What do I do? Lila looked at Jade, eyes fierce. You stay. You don't fold. Jade blinked, startled. What? Lila's voice was quiet but strong. Stay. Don't fold. That's what my mama used to say when the world tried to bend you until you snapped. The words settled into Jade's bones like a brace. Stay. Don't fold. Jade's hands trembled around the key. But if I stay, they can ruin me. Lila's gaze held hers. Baby, they already tried. The only way out now is through. Lila stood and locked the office door. Then she pulled a small black notebook from a drawer. You see this? Lila asked. This is my things that don't make sense book. Every time a high-value item disappears, every time security says camera malfunction, every time someone important's name shows up and suddenly policies change, I write it down. Jade blinked. Why? Lila shrugged. Because I learned a long time ago, paper remembers when people pretend they don't. Lila flipped pages quickly, stopping on a section labeled Vault. There was an incident 8 years ago, Lila said softly. A bag came in, tagged from Flight 6 Fenton. Same number, same style stamp. Inside would something. I never saw it. But I remember the chain of custody forms. I remember who took it. Jade's breath caught. Who? Lila's eyes narrowed. Not Trent. Trent wasn't here yet. Jade swallowed. Then who? Lila hesitated. The airport's operations director back then, a man named Everett Klein. Jade's stomach twisted. She'd seen that name on plaques in the employee hallway. Employee Excellence Award, Everett Klein. He'd been promoted since. He was now the airport's interim COO. Jade's mouth went dry. So he took something from the vault. Lila tapped the notebook. The forms said it was secured, but 2 days later, the forms disappeared, and the item was never logged out properly. Then the whole thing went quiet. Jade's heart pounded. And my mom? Lila's gaze softened. Your mama worked baggage then, and she got transferred soon after. I remember because she cried in my office. Said she'd seen something she wasn't supposed to see. Jade's chest tightened painfully. She never told me. Lila sighed. Sometimes mothers keep secrets because they think it's protection. Jade's eyes burned. Or because they're scared. Lila nodded once. Yes? Jade stared at the key, suddenly feeling the weight of her mom's fear in her palm. Then there was a knock. Not loud, not official. Just a knock. Lila and Jade froze. Another knock. Lila's eyes narrowed. She didn't speak. She walked to the door and cracked it open. A young man stood there. Airport IT, badge clipped crooked, hair messy like he'd slept under a desk. "Nico," Lila said, relief and suspicion mixed. "What are you doing back here?" Nico glanced around the hallway like he was afraid of being seen. "Miss Brooks," he whispered. "I heard about Jade." Jade's stomach tightened. "Everyone heard." Nico winced. "It's already on TikTok." Jade's face burned. Nico held up his hands. "I'm not here to judge. I'm here because something's wrong." Lila opened the door wider. "Come in." Nico stepped inside, eyes flicking to Jade's lanyard, then to the brass key, and he went still. "Oh," he breathed. "That?" Jade's heart jumped. "You know it?" Nico swallowed. "I know the code pattern. F-Series Vault, old system. Most people think it's decommissioned." Lila's voice turned sharp. "Why are you here, Nico?" Nico pulled out his phone and showed them a screenshot. A camera maintenance request form. "The lounge cameras didn't go into maintenance," Nico said quietly. "They were manually toggled from an admin terminal, and the log shows who did it." Jade's breath caught. "Trent!" Nico's eyes flicked up. "Not Trent. Trent doesn't have that level. The admin terminal belongs to operations." Lila's mouth tightened. "Everett." Nico nodded, face pale. "I can print the log, but if I do, I'm dead in this airport." Jade stared at him. "Why are you helping us?" Nico's jaw tightened. "Because my mom was a cleaner, and I watched people talk to her like she was invisible. And now they're trying to crush you the same way." Jade's throat tightened. "Thank you," Nico swallowed. "Also, there's something else." He lowered his voice even further. "There's a redundant server that auto-backs up corridor cams. The stuff they forget, the stuff they think no one will ever request." Lila's eyes sharpened. "Can you access it?" Nico hesitated. "Not without setting off alerts." "But I can tell you where the backups route." Jade's pulse spiked. "Tell us." Nico looked at Jade, then at the key. "If you open Vault F6117 and there's evidence, you're going to need those backups, because they'll claim you stole it, or forged it, or planted it." Jade's hands trembled. "So they'll rewrite it." Nico nodded grimly. "They always do." Lila's voice was low. "Baby, we're going to the vault." Nico's eyes widened. "Now, that's..." Lila cut him off. "It's already moving. They already threatened her. We don't wait for them to take the evidence first." Jade's phone buzzed again. This time, a photo. It was Jade, captured from behind, standing near the vault hallway, taken seconds ago. Jade's blood went cold. "They're watching," she whispered. Nico's face drained. "That's from an internal camera feed." Lila's jaw clenched. "Okay, we move." "Nico, you leave, now. And if anyone asks, you never saw us." Nico nodded fast. "Yes, ma'am." He turned to Jade. "Stay," he said softly, like he'd borrowed the words from somewhere stronger than him. "Don't fold." Then he slipped out. Lila grabbed her badge. "Come on." They moved through service corridors like ghosts, avoiding public areas. Lila walked with purpose, head high. Jade followed, heart racing. They reached a heavy door labeled "Lost" and found secure storage. A keypad, a camera above it. Lila typed a code with steady hands. The light turned green. The door clicked. Jade's stomach flipped. Inside, the room was cooler. Metal shelves, locked bins, a small wall of safe-like compartments, each with stamped numbers. Jade's breath caught as she saw it. A brass plate on one compartment. F617. Lila's voice was quiet. There! Jade stared. That's my key number. Lila nodded. Your mama's key. Jade's hands shook as she unclipped the key from her lanyard. Lila touched Jade's shoulder. Slow. Breathe. Jade pressed the key into the lock. It turned with a soft, smooth click like it had been waiting. The compartment door popped open. Jade froze. Inside was a sealed envelope, thick and heavy, with a red evidence stamp across the flap. And beneath it, a clear evidence pouch containing a flash drive. Jade's throat tightened. Oh my God! Lila's eyes went wide, then narrowed. Lord have mercy! Jade lifted the envelope carefully. The evidence stamp was old, slightly cracked. The label read, "Do not release without authorization. Internal audit." Jade's breath came shallow. This is what they want. Lila nodded slowly. Yes. Jade's eyes burned. Why? Lila's voice turned hard. Because something in that envelope could end careers. Jade's phone buzzed again. A new text. Meet alone, stairwell, C, 10 minutes. Jade's blood went cold. Lila leaned in, reading it. They want you isolated. Jade's voice shook. They think I already took it. Lila's mouth tightened. Or they know we did. Jade stared at the envelope and felt her hands turn numb. Should we open it? Lila shook her head sharply. Not here. Not without documentation. Not without someone who can protect you when you do. Jade swallowed hard. Who? Lila hesitated, then said quietly, There's been a man in this airport all day. I noticed him earlier. Hoodie, cap, looks like a nobody. But his shoes, his eyes, that's not a nobody. Jade blinked. I've seen him too, near the lounge. Lila nodded. He's watching the right things. That means he's either dangerous or he's the only reason we might live through this. Jade's throat tightened. How do we find him? Lila pulled a small card from her pocket and pressed it into Jade's hand. Airport compliance hotline, Lila said. But it's not a hotline. It's a direct line to an external auditor team. I got it after the last camera malfunction incident. Jade stared at it. You really have been preparing. Lila's eyes were fierce. Baby, when you live in a world where people can rewrite your truth, you learn to keep receipts. Lila slid the envelope and flash drive into a plain manila folder, then into a plastic evidence bag, then tucked it under her cardigan like she was hiding her own heart. We leave, Lila said. We go somewhere public enough they can't grab you quietly, but controlled enough we can watch exits. Jade's chest tightened. Where? Lila's eyes narrowed. Gate area, near airport police, and near cameras they can't maintain all at once. They left the vault. As soon as the door clicked shut behind them, Jade heard footsteps on the other side of the corridor. Fast, purposeful. Lila's hand tightened around Jade's elbow. Keep walking, she whispered. Don't look. Jade forced herself to keep moving like everything was normal. They rounded a corner and Lila pushed open a door into a maintenance stairwell, guiding Jade inside. The stairwell smelled like bleach and old air. Lila locked the door behind them and listened. Footsteps passed outside, then stopped. A voice, muffled through the metal. Brooks. Lila's jaw tightened. She didn't answer. Another voice. Open up! Jade's heart hammered. Lila leaned close to Jade. Stay, she whispered. Don't fold. Jade nodded, shaking. The handle rattled. Then, silence. Lila and Jade stood frozen for a full 10 seconds before Lila exhaled slowly. They're searching, Lila murmured. They know there's something. Jade's throat tightened. What if they find us? Lila's eyes were hard. Then we make sure they can't erase what we have before they try. They slipped out through another stairwell door that led into a public hallway, blending into the crowd again. By the time they reached the main terminal, Jade's phone buzzed with a new notification, a video, Brielle's video. It was Jade's face in the lounge, shocked and pleading, and Brielle's voice narrating like she was telling a bedtime story. "I caught her stealing," the caption read. "Help me expose this." Thousands of likes, thousands of comments. Jade's stomach turned. She could already imagine her manager seeing it. HR, strangers, people who would never know her repeating her name like it was a joke. Jade's vision blurred. Lila grabbed Jade's hand. "Look at me," she ordered gently. Jade looked. Lila's eyes were fierce. "This is what they do," Lila said. "They weaponize the crowd so you feel alone, but you are not alone." Jade's voice cracked. "I feel like I'm drowning." Lila squeezed her hand. "Then breathe, one breath at a time. We're going to put truth in a place they can't delete." They reached a quieter corner near an airport police substation, and that's when someone stepped out of the side corridor. A tall man in a suit. Not Trent, not Everett. Someone Jade didn't recognize, except for one detail. He wore a visitor badge with the word consultant printed on it, but it was upside down, like he'd clipped it in a hurry. He approached Lila and Jade with cautious calm. "Ms. Brooks?" he asked softly. Lila's eyes narrowed. "Who are you?" The man lifted his hands slightly, not in surrender, just in peace. "My name is Daniel Hart," he said. "I'm part of an external audit team." Jade's heart kicked. "External audit?" Daniel nodded. "We've been on site quietly. We were told to keep low because we suspected internal leaks." Lila's jaw tightened. "And now you're not keeping low." Daniel's eyes flicked past them, then back. "Because someone just sent a request to flag an employee, Jade Ramirez, for potential theft and harassment, with instructions to escort her off premises immediately." Jade's blood went cold. "They're trying to remove me." Daniel nodded. "Yes, and whoever filed it has authority." Lila's mouth tightened. "Everett." Daniel didn't confirm with a name, but his silence was confirmation enough. Jade's hands shook. "We have something," she whispered. Lila held Daniel's gaze. "How do we know you're real?" Daniel reached into his pocket slowly and produced a business card. No flashy logo, just a name and a number. Lila looked at it, then at Jade. "This matches the hotline card," Lila murmured. Jade's throat tightened. Daniel's voice was steady. "If you have evidence, we need to secure it with chain of custody immediately." Lila's eyes narrowed. "We do," Daniel nodded. "Then follow me, not to an office, to a place with cameras and police. And if anyone tries to stop us, it becomes public." Jade swallowed hard. "Public is the only thing they fear." Daniel's gaze held hers. "Exactly." As they walked, Daniel leaned closer and whispered, "A man named Miles Wexler is in the building. He's the primary investor overseeing this audit. He asked us to watch for exactly this kind of retaliation." Jade's heart jumped. Miles Wexler. So the hoodie man had been real. Daniel continued quietly. "He's been observing. He doesn't move until he can move with impact." Lila huffed softly. "Men with power love to observe while women get crushed." Daniel's eyes flickered with discomfort. "I understand the anger, but he's here to stop it completely." Jade didn't know what to believe. She only knew her wrist still hurt from Trent's grip. They reached Gate 22 area because that was where Brielle's flight was boarding soon, meaning Brielle would be there, Everett might be there, and the system would be forced into daylight. But before they could blend in, Jade's phone buzzed again. A call. Unknown number. Jade's hands trembled. She didn't answer. The call stopped. Then another text came. You step into gate 22 and we release everything about your mother. Jade's breath stopped. Her mother. Jade's chest tightened so hard she thought she might be sick. Lila's eyes snapped to the message. They're threatening your mama's memory now. Jade's voice shook. What does that even mean? Lila's mouth tightened. It means your mother's secret is part of this. Jade's mind raced. She remembered Marisol's quiet fear. The way she used to stiffen at certain suits, the way she'd switch languages mid-sentence when she got nervous. Jade swallowed hard. What did my mom see? Lila's voice was gentle now. We're going to find out, but not by letting them scare you into silence. If you're feeling this tension right now, hit like because it tells the algorithm you want stories where the truth wins. And keep listening, because the next twist isn't just about money. It's about why Jade's mother hid that key like it was a lifeline. They approached gate 22. Brielle stood near the boarding lane, smiling into her phone like she hadn't ruined someone's life that morning. Her friends hovered, checking angles, adjusting hair. A man in a blazer stood beside her, Everett Klein, the COO, the plaque man, the man Lila had named. Jade's stomach dropped. Everett laughed at something Brielle said, then leaned close and whispered in her ear. Brielle's smile tightened, eyes flicking toward the crowd like she was searching for Jade. Daniel stopped a few feet back, eyes scanning. Lila's voice was low. There, Everett. Jade swallowed. He's real, Lila nodded, and he's nervous. Brielle's gaze snapped toward Jade. Her smile vanished. Her eyes widened, then narrowed with fury. She stormed forward, phone raised. You, she snapped, loud enough for the nearest passengers to turn. How are you still here? I had you removed. Jade's chest tightened. I didn't steal your wallet. Brielle laughed sharply. Oh, sweetie, you don't get to talk. Trent appeared behind Brielle like a summoned demon, face controlled again, but eyes too bright. Ms. Ramirez, he said, you're trespassing in a restricted area. Jade's hands trembled. This is a gate. Trent's smile was thin. Not for you. Lila stepped forward. Back up, Trent. Trent's eyes flicked to Lila, irritation flashing. Miss Brooks, this doesn't concern you. Lila's voice was calm and deadly. Everything that happens in my vault concerns me. Everett Klein approached. Posture smooth, expression polished. He looked like a man who'd never been told no. What seems to be the issue? Everett asked, voice warm for an audience. Brielle threw her hands up theatrically. This employee stole from me and now she's stalking me? It's terrifying. Everett's eyes landed on Jade and lingered, calculating. Jade Ramirez, right? Jade swallowed. Yes. Everett's smile widened slightly. Let's handle this privately. Trent, escort her to the office. Jade's blood went cold. No. Everett's tone stayed gentle. It's in your best interest. Jade's heart pounded. Why are you so concerned with me? Everett's eyes narrowed just a fraction. Because I don't want disruptions. Daniel Hart stepped forward, holding his consultant badge up. Actually, he said calmly, this worker is under the observation of an external audit process. Any attempt to isolate her is improper. Everett's smile tightened. And you are, Daniel's voice stayed even, someone who documents retaliation. The crowd murmured. Phones rose. Everett's charm flickered, and then Jade saw it. Two men near the edge of the gate area, wearing airport security jackets, but the stitching on the patch was wrong, the color slightly off. Fake. They started moving toward Jade. Leela whispered, "They're going to grab you." Jade's breath caught. This was the moment the trap turned violent. The fake guards reached Jade, hands closed on her arms, and Brielle lifted her phone higher, delighted. "See," she said loudly, "caught in the act." Jade's stomach twisted. Then a calm voice cut through. "Let her go." Miles Wexler stood up from his chair near the window, hoodie, backpack. Baseball cap now in his hand. His face was composed, eyes sharp, voice steady enough to command attention without shouting. The two men froze just a beat. Recognition flashed across their faces like they'd just realized a judge entered the room. Miles spoke louder, "For the gate agent, the TSA, and the phones. My name is Miles Wexler," he said, "and those uniforms don't belong to this airport." Brielle scoffed. "Who cares?" Miles turned his gaze to her. "You will." The airport police officer who'd been lingering near the gate took a step forward. So did TSA. So did the gate agent, suddenly stiff with concern. Miles's tone didn't rise. It didn't need to. "I'm here on behalf of an external audit team," he said. "We've been investigating vendor fraud, security manipulation, and missing evidence items." Everett's face went pale for half a second, then snapped back into a polite smile. "Sir, this is a private matter." Miles cut him off. "No, it's a public integrity matter, and you've been hiding behind private while you do public harm." Jade's breath hitched. The fake guard tightened his grip reflexively. Miles's eyes sharpened. "If you touch her again, we'll add assault to impersonation." Airport police moved in. The officer grabbed the fake guard's wrist and twisted. The man yelped. The other tried to back away but was blocked by TSA. The two men released Jade. Jade stumbled back, breathing hard, arms burning where fingers had dug in. Miles stepped closer to Jade and lowered his voice just enough to land like a promise. "Stay," he said. "Don't fold." Jade's eyes burned. Lila's hand found Jade's shoulder. "Baby," she whispered, "and we're here." Daniel's gaze flicked to Lila's cardigan. "You have it." Lila nodded once. Miles looked at Lila. "Miss Brooks," he said, as if he'd known her name all along. Lila's eyebrows lifted. "You know me," Miles nodded once. "You've kept better records than this airport's leadership. I respect that." Lila's mouth tightened. "Then help us." Miles's gaze shifted to the bag under her cardigan. "What's in there?" Lila pulled it out slowly, careful. "Vault F617, sealed envelope and flash drive." Everett's voice rose quickly. "That's proprietary. That's internal. You can't—" Miles didn't look at him. "Open it." Lila looked at Jade. Jade's hands trembled. She didn't want to open anything in public, not in front of phones. Not with Brielle's hungry camera aimed like a spear, but Jade remembered the lounge, the humiliation, the confession paper, the threats, the photo taken of her at the vault. Jade swallowed hard. "Open it," Jade whispered. Lila broke the evidence seal carefully, like she was handling a live wire. Inside were printed documents, vendor contracts, payment approvals, signature lines. The kind of paperwork that looked boring until you realized boring paper moved millions of dollars. Miles scanned quickly, eyes moving like a blade. "Here," he said. He lifted one page. "Everett Klein," he said loudly, "approved a vendor contract under an alias company that doesn't exist. Payments routed through a marketing partnership tied to Brielle Vance's LLC." Brielle's face drained of color. No, that's... Miles lifted another page, and Trent Caldwell signed off on camera maintenance during each asset transfer. Trent's jaw clenched. That's not... Miles held up the flash drive. And this contains footage you thought you deleted. He turned slightly toward the gate agent. Do you have access to the gate monitors? The gate agent blinked, confused and nervous. Yes. Miles nodded to Daniel, who held up an audit credential. We're requesting display for public safety, Daniel said. Police are present. This is lawful. The gate agent swallowed and connected the device. A large monitor behind the desk flickered. Footage appeared, not from inside the lounge, but from a corridor angle. It showed Brielle standing near Jade's cart. It showed her friend stepping close to the cart, hand moving fast. It showed the wallet being slipped into the tray. Jade's breath stopped. The crowd gasped. Brielle's phone lowered, trembling. The footage continued, Trent approaching, leaning toward Jade with the confession paper, Trent's hand on Jade's elbow, and then another clip. A hallway camera showing Trent and Everett speaking together quietly near an operations door, Everett handing Trent something that looked like a badge. The crowd erupted into whispers. Everett's voice rose, sharp. This is edited. Miles's voice remained flat. It's time-stamped, backed up on a redundant server. That's why you kept claiming maintenance, to cover a pattern. Everett's eyes snapped to Daniel, then to Miles. His mask finally cracked. You have no authority to... Everett began. Airport police stepped in. The officer held up a hand. Sir, turn around. Everett's face hardened. Do you know who I am? The officer's tone didn't change. Yes, someone being detained. Trent's eyes snapped to Jade, rage burning. You think you won? Jade's hands trembled, but she didn't look away. No, she whispered. We think you lost, Trent sneered. You're still just a cleaner. The old shame tried to crawl back up Jade's throat. Then Miles's voice came, quiet but firm, right beside her. And you're still just a man hiding behind a uniform. Trent flinched like the words hit harder than handcuffs. Police escorted Everett and Trent away through the terminal, phones following like a tide. Brielle sank into a chair, shaking, her friends suddenly stepping away from her like guilt was contagious. Jade stood in the gate area, breathing hard, feeling like the ground beneath her had shifted. Miles turned to Jade. Your name? He asked, even though he already knew. Jade swallowed. Jade Ramirez. Miles nodded. Then, for the audience and the phones, he spoke clearly. Jade Ramirez didn't steal anything today, he said. Jade Ramirez was framed, and Jade Ramirez helped expose a fraud scheme that used workers as disposable cover. Jade's eyes burned. Lila touched her shoulder. Baby, she whispered, you stayed. Jade's throat tightened. I almost folded. Lila's gaze was fierce. But you didn't. Miles looked at Jade again, softer now. I'm sorry you were put through this. Jade swallowed hard. Why were you here? Miles exhaled. Because sometimes the only way to see a system is corrupt is to watch how it treats the people it thinks no one will defend. Jade's voice cracked. So you watched me get humiliated. Miles's eyes flickered with regret. I watched, and I waited until I had enough to stop it without them twisting it into he said, she said. Jade clenched her jaw, trying not to cry. It felt like nobody cared. Miles's voice was quiet. I cared. I just didn't want them to win. That night, Jade sat in a small conference room with airport HR, union reps, airport police, and an attorney Miles brought in. The airport issued an apology. Jade's job was reinstated with back pay. The confession paper was voided. Trent's access was revoked. Everett's accounts were frozen pending investigation. The fake guards were charged with impersonation. but Jade didn't feel victorious yet. Victory wasn't just getting your job back. Victory was knowing you couldn't be erased with a lie. HR offered Jade a prepared statement to sign, carefully worded, corporate, sanitized. Jade stared at it and felt her stomach turn. It read like the airport was apologizing to itself, not to her. Miles asked Jade what she wanted. Jade looked at Lila, then at Daniel, then down at the brass key on the table. "I want them to stop doing this," she said softly. "To anyone. I want a policy that protects workers, not just profits." The union rep, Marcus O'Neill, nodded. "Proud. That's the right ask." Lila's eyes shone. "Baby's got teeth." Miles nodded slowly. "Then we build something." Over the next 2 weeks, Jade learned something else about power. Real power doesn't just punish. Real power repairs. Miles brought in an independent compliance team. Daniel and Nico helped map the camera system so maintenance could never be used as a weapon again. Marcus pushed for worker representation in every disciplinary meeting, no exceptions. Everett's name vanished from the plaques in the hallway. Trent's access badge stopped working. The lounge got a new supervisor. Brielle posted an apology video. It had tears, dramatic music, and a caption about learning and growing. Jade watched 10 seconds of it and turned it off. Some apologies were for healing, some were for saving your brand. Jade's phone rang late one night. "Mateo, did you really get arrested?" he asked, voice trying to sound casual and failing. Jade closed her eyes. "No, I didn't. I fought." There was a pause. Then Mateo whispered, "I'm proud of you." Jade's throat tightened. "I was scared." Mateo laughed softly. "You're always scared. You just don't fold." Jade blinked, tears in her eyes. After the call, Lila stood beside Jade in the break room, hands on hips. "Stay," Lila said. "Don't fold." Jade nodded, whispering it like a vow. "Stay. Don't fold." On her first day in the new role, Jade walked past the VIP lounge and saw Paolo glance up and smile shyly. "Glad you're back," he said quietly. Jade nodded. "Me too." And for the first time, when Jade walked through the terminal, she didn't feel invisible. Not because people suddenly respected her, but because she respected herself. That evening, Jade stood in the same corridor where she'd been accused. She watched passengers rush past. She watched cleaners push carts like she used to. She watched the system keep moving. And she realized something that felt like the real moral of this whole story. Justice isn't just punishing villains. Justice is changing the rules so the next vulnerable person doesn't have to suffer first. Now I want to ask you, be honest, if you were Jade, would you have exposed everything right there at the gate in front of everyone? Or would you have stayed quiet and let the investigation handle it behind the scenes? Team expose at the gate, or team quiet investigation?